You are 17 years old, and you have never fired a rifle at another human being. That is about to change. It is September 1942. The city around you used to be called Stalingrad. Now it is mostly rubble. And rubble, it turns out, makes excellent cover. You crouch behind what used to be a bakery. The smell of bread is long gone. What remains is dust, cordite, and the particular silence that settles over a city after an artillery barrage ends. Not peace, just a pause. Somewhere above you, on the 4th floor of a gutted apartment block, a man is doing exactly what you are about to learn to do. Waiting. He has been waiting for 6 hours. He will wait for 6 more if that is what it takes. Why would anyone choose a job that is mostly stillness? Because in this particular war, stillness kills more efficiently than any charge ever could. Here is what most retellings get wrong about sniping in the Second World War. They picture one dramatic shot from a mile away, a hero framed against the sky. The reality is closer, slower, and far stranger. A sniper's real weapon is not the rifle. It is patience, stretched past the point most people believe they can bear. You are handed a Mosin Nagant, a Soviet bolt-action rifle first designed back in 1891 and still deadly 50 years later, now fitted with a telescopic sight. Your instructor is a former hunter from the Ural Mountains, and he tells you the rifle is the easy part. Your mind is the hard part. The historian Antony Beevor, who spent years reconstructing the siege of Stalingrad street by street, describes a battle that resembled nothing fought before it. This was not armies clashing across open fields. This was combat measured in staircases, in single rooms, in the distance between one shattered window and the next. Soldiers on both sides had their own name for it. Rats' War. Because that is exactly what fighting through a collapsing city, floor by floor, felt like. You learn quickly that Stalingrad has already produced a legend, and his name is Vasily Zaitsev, a shepherd's son from the Ural foothills, credited by Soviet military records with well over 100 confirmed kills during the siege. He does not train recruits like you with speeches. He trains you with drills. Hold still. Control your breathing. Let the target come to you, never the other way around. Soviet propaganda will later turn Zaitsev into a folk hero, his photograph printed on leaflets, his kill count recited like a sporting statistic to a starving, exhausted army that badly needed something to believe in. Soviet accounts even describe a personal duel between Zaitsev and a German sniper school commander sent specifically to hunt him down. Historians today still argue over how much of that story is documented fact and how much was myth, polished after the war for morale. Keep that question in mind. It matters more than it sounds like it should. Your first posting is not a battlefield the way you once imagined one. It is a single room inside a fortified apartment block that soldiers have nicknamed Pavlov's house, after the sergeant who led a small garrison that held it for nearly 2 months against repeated assaults. That siege within a siege is real, documented, still studied by military historians today. From a shattered window on the 3rd floor, you have a clear line of sight down the street the enemy needs to cross to resupply its forward positions. So here is what actually happens on your 3rd day. You take position before dawn. You do not move for 11 hours. Your legs go numb. Your throat turns dry. But you cannot risk the sound of unscrewing a canteen lid. At one point, a rat runs across your boot, and you do not flinch, because flinching is how snipers die. Somewhere across the ruined street, an enemy soldier is making the exact same calculation you are making. Which one of you blinks first? At 2 in the afternoon, you get your answer. A shape shifts in a doorway across the rubble. You do not think about who he is. You think about wind drift and range and the half-second window your instructor drilled into you 100 times over. One shot. You are not proud of what happens next. You are relieved. That is the honest version, the version the war films rarely tell you. Here is the twist that most retellings of Stalingrad snipers leave out entirely. The staggering kill counts, Zaitsev's included, were partly a weapon in their own right, separate from anything fired out of a rifle barrel. The Soviet High Command understood something simple. A besieged, half-starved army needed a story to hold on to more than it needed one more rifle company. So commanders built heroes out of numbers, some difficult to independently verify even now, and printed those numbers on leaflets dropped over enemy lines. Historians still debate exactly how many of the credited kills were precise. What is not in dispute is the psychological effect. Enemy soldiers reported real, documented fear of Soviet snipers, changing their movements, avoiding windows, slowing their own advance street by street. A number on a printed page changed how an entire army walked through a city. Is a myth still a weapon if the fear it creates is real? That question did not end when the siege did, in February 1943. Modern military sniper training still borrows almost everything from what was learned inside Stalingrad's ruins. Stillness, concealment, the discipline to let a target come to you rather than chase one down. Walk through any contemporary Special Forces training manual, and you will find echoes of the same lessons a Ural hunter once taught to teenagers holding borrowed rifles. And the city itself did not stay Stalingrad. It is Volgograd now, rebuilt, its skyline unrecognizable from the one you once crouched inside. On a hill overlooking the Volga River stands a statue nearly as tall as a 20-story building, a woman with a raised sword, known as the Motherland Calls. It marks the site of some of the war's most brutal close-quarters fighting, the same high ground where snipers like you once counted the seconds between one breath and the next. You were 17 years old, and you had never fired a rifle at another human being. By the time the guns finally went quiet, you were someone else entirely. And so, in its own way, was a world that was only just beginning to learn what a war could look like when it was won one silent, patient shot at a time.